Gods may be forged with greatness, but sometimes it takes just a little bit of refinement. Hello everyone, Bront here. We're having some fun talking Godforge, and we are here on the Alpha here. I've been playing for a couple days. I believe this started, 3 days ago now. And I have been playing off and on. I've put maybe 8 to 10 hours into this game. Possibly more, possibly less. I've been playing it alongside other things as I've been doing other things. I have been super busy. I had to do a bunch of classes this week. I ended up actually getting very, very sick yesterday. I am doing better. You can probably hear a little bit of extra raspiness in my voice, but, I am doing okay. I appreciate any concern you guys have had. Hopefully we will be streaming some Godforge, honestly, probably shortly after I finish recording this video. But it has been fun so far. There's some stuff that is definitely needs some improvement. I've found a couple bugs here and there, such as, occasionally a champion hasn't shown up properly on the reward screen. I've had some issues with different debuffs or buffs not displaying with the correct cooldown times, or maybe they were actually expired and didn't show properly. But, there's been some fun stuff here. So I kind of want to walk around a little bit, just see some of the stuff I have explored a bit, talk about where the game is in its current state so far, and what I think they're doing well, what I think is a problem with the current format, so I'm not judging them specifically on it, and some of which I think things that could be improved, at least so far as I've been working on them. So let's get into it. So first of all here, one of the cool things that they have done is we have weapons, and weapons are actually different from the rest of the gear that you get. So weapons will increase your attack, but they are unique from the other 6 pieces of equipment you have. They're kind of like relics in some cases for raid, for example. There's other things that have been similar to them. But basically, in addition to giving you, some special ability of some kind, and they give you attack and some other stat here. So you go here, you can get different attack stats here. Like this is giving me some HP. So, and I think they always give you attack and maybe some other random thing here. I don't know if it is per type. I mean, yep. So it is random to here to some extent. And so you can increase them as well. So like this one here, I increased crit damage. So it gave me the 5 to 7%, and I can certainly rank this thing up at some point in time as well. And to rank it up, I would then fuse it with another one, which is, just do that. So that gets it to a better stat overall and allows me to continue to level it up. And, the sliders here are okay. I know some of the sliders have actually started at 0 as opposed to 1, or they started at the level that you currently were at. So it didn't look like they were actually sliders. So things like that, some of the visual cues. This slider certainly could be made to look better, stuff like that. But that's all spit and polish type stuff that they're going to work on later on. But, so you can increase the stats here and some of the stuff. So if I'll just, just add some of the stuff here, boom, I get extra stats. There we go. That helps one of my champions there, or heroes, I should say. The other thing that they have here, which is kind of cute, is they've got an imprint on them. Imprints are kind of cool. I kind of wish that there was a better way to see that this was a slider than this thing here. I just happened to click on it once to see if it was a little slider thing, and it turns out it is. But if you see here on the imprint, you can actually add abilities. So you can get, you can get these from the random drops, or you can technically extract them from other champions as well. If you decide you have extras of a champion, you don't need them, and you want that imprint for some reason. So, for example, this one here increases the damage inflicted by 1% for each stack of bleed on the target. Well, that's actually pretty good. That works with my Lady Zoc, who actually is putting bleed out at, some rate. Not a particularly high rate, but she does put out some bleed. So this would be good, especially if I am pairing this particular champion with Lady Zoc regularly. I could suddenly give them an ability to do additional damage just based off of the weapon as well. So I don't have a lot of these things. Again, I'm only at level 60 and there's 151 floors on this, but it is, it is cool. It's an interesting way to not only give you a reason to collect champions that you might have duplicates or triplicates of because you may want a specific ability, but it also allows you to do things like move weapons around based off of the imprints to give them additional customizations and additional powers as well. So I think it's kind of a cool little ability here. And I have not gotten far enough to really dive into this too much, but it's kind of cool that you can do that as well. Within the Anvil creation, you can also see some of these imprints as well. So you can see here's the imprint library and here's the extraction. So you can see I could actually, for example, take my Baru, I believe is the guest guy's name right here, or Bach, that's Bach, and extract an imprint from him. So that's, kind of cool. Or I could take a duplicate Ramses here and get this decrease extra damage under acid. Guan Yu gets extra damage under drain. Increased defensive allows by 1.5% for each hero matching this hero's faction. So that's an interesting unity faction. And that one could be actually kind of cool for floors where you've got a bunch of the same faction, or you happen to be running a lot of the same faction for some reason against a lot of these floors. It's kind of nice. So as you can see, you kind of extract these from rares and above where they have these passives. Kind of cool stuff. I think that's actually an interesting and cool mechanic that has some interesting potential. Plus, it also means that rares, who eventually in the end game often get overshadowed because they're not particularly exciting, but if rares have interesting passives, rares could continue to have use as additional imprints for those champions. Now, other things you can do here, so we'll go into the cavern so we can get into a stage here. As you can see, I haven't actually beaten stage 60 yet. So let's pull up my Lady Zoc, and if I go to the Awakening, I can sacrifice a duplicate hero, or I can use a thing. I have an imprint here, so I can sacrifice this imprint and level her up to this level 3. So hero deals of also heals this hero 50% damage inflicted. That's actually pretty powerful. So instead of actually taking that imprint and using it as a weapon, I can in sample awaken my Lady Zoc, who I'm actually going to do. So you could do this with duplicates as well as imprints. So it's actually kind of interesting. It means if you earn an imprint for a champion, you don't necessarily want to make it part of a weapon if you're trying to imprint and awaken these champions. That's a good question. Can you awaken? Okay, so you can awaken rares and above. So commons and uncommons don't awaken. At least I don't have a lot of uncommons on my account. Maybe that's maybe the problem here. But then, of course, then as I mentioned, the gear. So you got the different pieces of gear here. So far, from what I've seen, the top pieces all have similar available stats. The middle pieces have similar available stats, and the bottom pieces have similar available stats. I've only seen speed on bottom 2 pieces, but I have speed on pants. In fact, somebody here has got speed pants. There we go. Speed pants. And so that's been, interesting and helpful looking for them. We do have the different stats here, so we go down the stats quickly. HP, of course, is your standard taking damage ability. Defense is your mitigating damage. Attack adds additional damage, and everybody does damage based on attack. Some of them can get extra damage based off of things like HP, but for the most part, attack is increasing damage for absolutely everybody, which is nice. As much as I love the idea of having HP or defense-based champions that get cool stuff with those extra skills as well, I would rather have attack always increase damage in some way, shape, or form, and just have defense or HP also modify that, because I think that's a better way to go to make sure that attack is never a dead stat on a particular champion. And I think that's part of the goal, is to make sure there's never a dead stat. Speed, of course, speed always kills in a lot of these games here, but initiative is another one as well that's kind of interesting. Initiative, and you can click on the stats here and learn what they do. So, attack is more health in battle. Attack increases damage to enemies. Defense reduces it. Speed lets you take more turns. Init helps your divinity. So divinity is where you get your ultimate powered up. So instead of having 3 different skills, a basic attack and then 2 other skills, like a lot of games will have, you'll have your basic attack, your core skill, I think is what they call it, and then you'll have your passive, and then you'll also have a ultimate skill. The ultimate skill is powered up by your divinity, and you get divinity based off your initiative. So if you want the ultimate skill to be able to trigger more often, having somebody with a high initiative can be very helpful. The other thing that initiative can do for you is, because these ultimates can be triggered off of your turn. So it doesn't have to be your turn well, it has to be your turn, but it doesn't have to be your hero's turn to trigger their ultimate. You could, in theory, build somebody very slow with a high initiative and spam their ultimate repeatedly if that ends up working out for you. Now, not every champion's going to get extra ultimate without taking a turn, so speed is still going to be very important. But initiative can really influence the usability of a champion, particularly if they have a really good ultimate. Now, crit rate, pretty simple. Crit rate just increases the amount chance of landing crit, and then crit damage, of course, is just going to multiply your damage here as well. Right now, I haven't been at a point where I've been able to stack a ton of crit damage, so honestly, some things like attack might be probably better, but, it's really kind of dependent on what you're at. And I like having crit, so crit is nice. Resistance helps you resist debuffs and disables, but also reduces critical damage inflicted, so you actually have a reason to get resistance even on champions that aren't going to be high resistance. And accuracy, of course, lets you land your debuffs and your disables, and also helps you get a strong hit, so you can do a little more damage as well on champions that could possibly land this stuff as well. So the stats are very interesting. The stats are very universal. So there's a reason to have resistance on a damage-dealing champion, because it'll help them survive just a little bit longer, especially if they're getting criticaled. Even if you don't have enough resistance to be useful. Kind of cool, and I like this overall. Again, some of the look of this stuff is very simplistic looking. Some of the font is, could possibly be a little bit better. I mean, I don't hate this font, but it doesn't feel very gamey if that's what you're looking for. So, I'm sure there's some stuff they will do to make the font look a little bit better, maybe read just a little bit better. There's cool things too, like you can lock your gear or unlock your gear. One of the things that's hidden is the only way to sell gear right now is to use this little thing here. So it's even going to tell me if I want to unequip it or not. Kind of nice. So if I just let's go find something I want to sell. This will work here. So we'll sell this one here. It tells me how much I'm going to sell it for. In fact, I really would wish they would actually have the sell number here too in that box. That would be kind of nice, but it is what it is. So we'll sell that. And boom, I have a little more silver here, or gold, I should say. And, that works pretty well. So that is selling gear, that is buying gear. Now, the gear sets are kind of cool for these advanced gear sets that have different levels of 2, 4, and 6. You can actually scroll. There's the level 2 boost. There's the level 4 boost. There is the level 6 boost as well if you end up with 6 of the wolf. As you can see, the set bonuses here, since they are in pairs of 2, so it is a 2, 4, 6 for the variable sets as well. You can see all of your equipment set bonuses right here. And it's actually pretty nice. For the most part, everything that could do something if you click on it, or if you long click on it, seems to be working fairly well and intuitively enough that I haven't noticed a lot of really weird UI issues. Now, apparently a lot of people struggle to find the sell button. I found it really quickly, although to be fair, part of the reason I found it was because I was trying Dragonair, which has a similar button in there as well. The other thing I have found that is frustrating is if I get new gear, I can't sell it from the get new gear screen yet. The button is there, but it doesn't actually do anything. So I know that's something that they are planning on fixing, but it's not fixed yet, so I can complain about it. Overall, building champions has been interesting. I started needing to build champions for survivability, so some of them have a lot of HP. Gilgamesh has been a huge carry for me, partially because he just has a ton of HP, but his abilities are actually doing damage based off of, his extra HP is adding extra damage for it, so he gets extra damage based on missing HP there. I can't wait to get his, his passive up as well, which I think would be great. Problems I have run into, however, is if we go into to ascend these champions, I have to go to upgrade, and then I have to go to ascend. And I have not been getting a lot of these purple stuff to ascend any of my purple heroes. And for some reason, I've gotten an awful lot of my purple heroes. So the purple hero is specifically an eternal. So you have your strength, you have your wisdom, and you have your cunning. And basically your strength attacks wisdom, your wisdom attacks cunning, and your cunning attacks strength. It looks like strength is kind of the magic equivalent here, just because a lot of the basic champions are all strength-based champions. I kind of wish this was going clockwise rather than counterclockwise. I sort of get why they decided to do it this way, just because I think they were trying to not copy people that do it the other way around, but counter and clockwise just feels very unintuitive to me. So very, very minor critique, but I wish this would be the other way around. Then it's nice that they actually tell you the positive and negative effects of this right here and there. So 30% chance of a strong with a positive. And of course, Eternal has no reactions. So, 10% chance of strong hit, which increases damage by 30% and can never weak hit. So Eternals have that, but that's positive and negative against an Eternal. So I believe against an Eternal, everyone has this 10% chance as well. I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm actually kind of curious if Eternals only get this positively and never weak. That's kind of interesting as well. But yeah, it's been kind of fun with this here. You've got the brawlers. There's different types of champions. There's brawlers. There's defense. No, okay, I didn't realize this. This is off center, and this is already disturbing to me now. This brawling little thing here is off center. That feels bad. But you've got defense-based champions. You've got your invokers, and of course you have your slayers. And then you have your disruptors. So it's been interesting to see who's been doing what. I've got a couple disruptors here. I've got the one invoker. I've got a defense-based champion. I've been using some brawlers as well. The brawlers are definitely a little tankier versus the slayers are a little more damage-oriented. I haven't seen much that the law and the chaos. Is order and chaos seems to be a thing. I haven't seen that do much of anything yet, but it is definitely out there. But ascending champions has been helpful. You get the passive at level 3. It's been interesting to figure out where to farm and who to farm. I actually should double check. Can I get you? Do I have enough to ascend you? I can get you to level 2. I can get you level 3. Perfect. That will be helpful for you. So that gets your passive up, which is great. So your passive is what? When an enemy attempts to place a debuff, an ally has a chance to heal. So, okay, that's kind of cool. Yeah, Shishi has been very interesting for me. Shishi's been helpful because Shishi does some ally protection. So he does protect on all allies with that ultimate, and then does defense up on this hero, and it joins allies that attack using their basic ability. So it's basically a bit of an ally attack. The other thing that's been nice with him is the passive of Isolde heals everybody when a defender is attacked. So it's been nice to have Shishi in here to give me some healing, because honestly, this is the only healer I've been able to pull so far, at least in the rares or above. So that's certainly been where I think some of my frustration has been with this game. And some of that's just a gotcha game, and some of that I think is just how they have staged it. It has been interesting to deal with what my roster has ended up being. So I've struggled with healing because I didn't pull a lot of healing champions. I have struggled getting extra stars in some of these things because some of these stars, for example, are, well, at least this one I probably could do without a problem. Epic Heroes probably shouldn't be a problem. I just need to go do it. While placing a shield on allies. That's doable, and I don't know if I've got a shield on my account at the moment, though. Invoke 2 invokers. That I don't have 2 real good invokers at the moment. 2 wisdom, some of these I need to build out some of these champions here. No stage with no legendary heroes. That should be pretty easy. There's a couple of them here where it's like 1 defender and invoker. There we go. Let's find one. There we go. Stage placing both attack up and defense up on all allies. Well, I don't think I have an attack up champion that I've seen so far. So, that's been difficult, or only brawlers. So some of these things are cool. Some of these things I'm certainly going to have to go back and clear up. But it has been kind of fun to just look at these things and see what I can do. For example, if you're farming weapon materials for the weapons, stage 59 is stage 9 seems to be where you're looking for. It looks like stage 59 gives you more experience than normal. That's certainly worthwhile. If you're looking for silver or gold, I should say, the 8 stages seem to be better for that. That's also where you're getting some gear. As you can see here, you're getting 1-star and 2-star souls. So if you're looking to roll up champions and improve them, Well, that's how you can farm your 1 stars into 2 stars, your 2 stars into 3 stars, and then feed them to 3 stars to make 4 stars. So that has been helpful, but I haven't been getting enough champions, I found, to be able to feed some of the earlier ones. Plus, the other thing that has been a bit of a shortage here, if I can find one of them. Here we go, here. This here is the experience that you can get to be able to feed champions up to level them up. So what I probably need to be doing more is running some, find a way to farm with a single farmer and then some low-level champions that I'm leveling up to be able to build more food to upstage more champions. And I really haven't seen floors where that's been great, and I haven't been getting enough of this hero experience. But if you look here, I've got 2.4k stamina out of my 230 max stamina. So I have clearly not been using all of my stamina or putting things on repeat. The other thing I have been doing, however, if you look at like stage 5, if we look at the rewards here, stage 5s and stage 10s are places where you can actually get legendary heroes or rare heroes. So I was, for example, farming stage 50 for a while because I was literally just looking for champions. And that, of course, actually gets me a 2-star soul as well, so that's been helpful. But I needed some 3-star rare champions and wouldn't mind some epics or legendaries to start to be able to feed and rank up champions just a little bit better. In fact, this is kind of funny too, because it doesn't tell me I can get a 3-star hero here or 3-star spirit, but it says I can get a 3-star spirit here. So farming stage 50, worthwhile. But again, little UI bugs, little things that are a little bit different. Some of this stuff could be done better, but for a game mode that was made to be able to test the alpha and do some of this stuff, I think overall they've done a very good job. So my impression of the different heroes have been fun so far. The heroes are varied. The heroes are interesting. Early on, I didn't think the commons and the uncommons were too horrible, although to be fair, I never used a common because I always had at least an uncommon available to run in every single stage. And then, of course, you start off with your rare, and that was very helpful as well. I think they maybe could steer a little bit with some couple of guaranteed heroes of different types to make sure you get a few more, but, perhaps they have gotten you different heroes. For example, as I said, the only real the 2 disruptors I've got is I've got Odin, but I also have Dagonet here, who's been very helpful. He's a decreased defense-based champion, so that's been very helpful for me. This dude here seems useful, but he relies on burns, and I don't really have any good way to get Blaze out, but he needs Blaze to really kind of empower some of the stuff that he does, unless he's got a chance to put Blaze up with his passive. So I got to unlock his passive. So that's clearly a me problem, not anything else. Got to awaken these guys at some point in time, put gear on them. Farming gear has been problematic, but I haven't found a lot of good gear yet. But the gear drops have been just kind of okay. And I probably just need to probably just need to stake and farm this stage here. So in fact, we'll just grab some champions here, throw them in there. Get some of these champions. That'll be good. And, this should hopefully get me some gear. So I got to farm up some gear. As I mentioned, overall, the game seems fun to play. The fights are definitely interesting. I think as I get further on, the fights are going to get a little longer and a little more involved. And that's where some of the strategy is going to start to come in. And I think that's going to be fun. I think the speed of the champions could be just a little bit faster. I do know they're eventually looking to get a 3 or 3.5 speed in the game, and I think they've also talked about making the 1x and 2x just a little bit faster. But that sort of stuff is tweakable. That's something that could even do, later on in a beta or an actual release, because, you learn stuff as you do these alphas, and that's a lot of what the alpha is. But overall, I've been having fun with this. There's a lot of intricacies in here, and I haven't unlocked a lot of them because I simply don't have the roster yet to do it. And that's the part of the fun of this thing, is finding and unlocking a roster, finding champions you're enjoying using, building unique teams for them, and going from there. I haven't quite unlocked some of that level of the fun yet because I'm at stage 60, and I need to farm a bit to get these champions built up a little bit more, because stage 60 is the first. Basically, every stage 30, 60, 90, 120, and eventually 150 and 51 are where you get their two big bosses. So on stage 30 was the dragon, and then stage 60 is the golden golem. And the golden golem is kind of tough, and I'm struggling with it. But honestly, I'm struggling with the wave, not the golden golem. So that's been, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with struggling on the wave. Hey, look at that. 459 got a ton of experience. Managed to max out Isolde so I can actually hopefully 4-star her. Got myself some extra energy here. And fair, you do get some of this extra energy. I think what happens here is this is spillover energy from other things. So now if I go to my heroes here, now that I have her ready to upgrade her, I need to sacrifice a couple of other champions. So I could grab this. I could certainly grab you. And you know what? I don't think I'm going to grab you at the moment. So we'll feed those 3 in here. And now she is a 4-star champion. Now I can level her up beyond level 30. And that will be helpful overall. You're already over that. You're going to be over that soon. So I'm going to have to slowly but surely make you a 4-star. And that's just kind of how the game progresses. Is it very different from a lot of other gachas at the moment? No. There's no direct summoning. It is farming stages for some of these rewards. And this has kind of been a fun little dungeon dive. It's been a Doom Tower-like farming thing. There's been interesting resources here to farm. Every single floor has some interesting options for you. What I think would make this game, if this was part of a mode for a full-on game, I would say this is kind of cool. As the sole game mode, it has some serious limits, but they know that, but that's not what this was designed to do. So, does Godforge have a future? Yes, I think they've got some pretty good foundational stuff in here. I think once I expand my roster a bit and I get a chance to play with some more champions, I will be able to tell you more wholeheartedly whether or not all of the champions are good. I can tell you right now, just looking at some of my heroes, what has been bothering me a little bit about some of them is we take a look at the abilities here from Dagonet, for example, and it doesn't tell me the books, so that's actually interesting. So if I go to the upgrade and we go to the abilities here, I've maxed out all of these things. So interesting. So this is a 6-turn cooldown here, bookable to a 4-turn cooldown here. But if I go to the abilities here, okay, now it tells me it's a 4-turn cooldown. And it says 75% chance to place defense down. But if I was to go to the abilities here, this is 75% chance, but it's been booked to 100. So this 100% chance doesn't show, the booked 100% chance is not showing properly. That's a interesting, I'm sure that's a known bug, but that's certainly worth noting as a problem. I also think it would be interesting to be able to, from this screen, see what I could do to improve this ability other than just make it a 4-turn cooldown. And I'm not a huge fan of the 4-turn cooldown just because I find that it takes a little too long to get back to abilities. And specifically with Isolde's here, this is a 4-turn cooldown, but sometimes it feels like a 5-turn cooldown, and I don't quite know why. Because I swear I've seen it do 5-turn cooldowns after I've used it. So I wonder if it's actually not promoting properly, which would be an interesting little bug here. But this was a 6-turn cooldown, bookable to 4-turn, and then he increased the duration here. And I like this increased duration. So this means that this is only a 1-turn defense up, but turns into a 2-turn defense up. So that's kind of nice. So yeah, the books are interesting. The skill cooldowns aren't too bad. You get the ultimates, which can be kind of fun as well. So you get these off as you get more divinity, and there's different ways to gain extra divinity. She gains extra divinity by placing buffs, which she does on both her A1 and her A2. So that is very good as well. So yeah, the champions seem interesting. So far, the game balance seems definitely interesting. The, gear certainly looks interesting. I have not had a chance to dive into gear too much because it's been a struggle to farm too much gear. But again, if you can see, I've got so much energy and I have not been farming, dedicated. I haven't, just said, hey, farm this stage and let's walk away a little bit either, because that's not how I've been playing the game so far. But to be fair, this is a gacha game, and that's kind of the reality of playing a gacha game like this. So I've had fun with it so far. I think that, it is going to be interesting to try. If you still want to get into the third alpha, which will be a bit of a competition, I believe you still might be able to. If you sign up for the beta, there's a chance you might be able to get into the open alpha, which will be Alpha Wave 3. We should have a bigger alpha in Alpha Wave 2, so that is probably coming up. I think that's coming up in maybe 2 weeks, because I think this alpha goes for another couple of days, maybe another week, and then once this is done, there's going to be a 10-day down period, and then it's coming up for the next one. So yeah, so we're probably not going to have Alpha 2 until sometime in August, and then Alpha 3 is probably going to be, either early to mid-September is kind of what I'm guessing. I'll give you some more news once I have more news. But overall, Godforge has been fun. There's a lot of interesting things in here. I like some of the champions. I really do like a lot of these debuffs, and I can't wait to get into the longer fights where a lot of these debuffs and controls are going to prove to be more interesting and more entertaining. I'm liking the champions I have managed to pull so far, so that has been very good. And I'm certainly excited to pull more champions, build more champions, and explore the way Godforge can continue to be an interesting game. So, hey, if you get a chance, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. I'm certainly trying to grow this channel from scratch. You guys might know me from my raid channel. I can go check that out as well. There are links. I don't know if there are links down below or not, but there's links on the main channel page to that other raid channel as well. If you want to check me out on raid, I do guides on raid. I do deep dives, and we make fun content and we have fun in games. So I appreciate you guys. You're absolutely amazing. Let's build a wonderful community here for Godforge. And until the next video, I am Bront.